Good afternoon. Welcome to HNC Let's Talk. I'm Dexter Brooks. Today's episode is sponsored by HealthNet Co. Together we make insurance simple. Our guest today is going to be Jason Shankle. Jason is with Inner Self and Wisdom LLC. He's going to be discussing family inherited trauma. All right, let's get with it. Our guest host is Jason Shankle. Jason, are you with me today?
I'm with you.
How's it going, Jason?
It's going pretty good. Another work day, on the grind.
Now, Jason is joining us today as a co-host. He's going to be discussing, I believe you stated that you're to be discussing family inherited trauma.
Yes. So, I'm going to be discussing a couple of facets of that. I just felt like the topic is, the thing is, the topic is always fitting, especially when we talked about, the influence of social media, and then we talk about, how it impacts families and things like that. And I'm looking forward to some of the questions as well. So, I guess I can go ahead and kick that off to put the topip up there. So
absolutely. So the question is, Nick, what exactly is family inherited trauma? Is that like saying, I don't know. It's I can't even think of, like something happened to you within your family that you're having to deal with, cope with?
Well, yeah, there's many things that make up family inherited trauma. And it's inevitable for, us to be talking about family inherited trauma and not talk about, generational patterns, generational cycles, and generational curses and how they duplicate themselves in our family lineage subconsciously, consciously, and even unconsciously.
So give me an example.
So an example of that could be, I guess it would probably be helpful for me to break down the differences between a generational pattern, a curse, and a cycle, because I'm pretty sure some people are going, well, what's the difference? Because typically in the Black community, we always hear of the generational curses, right? So we'll start off with the generational curse. And this is just a definition from my research, so I could kind of answer that question a bit more detailed. So a generational curse is a energetic transference of spirit that's influenced by ancestral beliefs and unhealed trauma that is hidden from the knowledge of family members. A generational pattern is more like an ancestral or a hereditary transference of energy that passes through one legacy to another family lineage. And then a generational cycle is more of a constant duplication of a particular behavior or a phenomenon that subconsciously subdues family growth. So an example of that could be an example of a family cycle may be if you come from a family of abuse, right? Mm-hmm. You could think that, okay, well, I've seen parents fighting, things like that. How this may look like, that does not mean just because you were in an abusive home, that means you're going to become an abuser or become abused, but there's something called observational learning. And just with this definition that I just talked about, the constant duplication of behavior. So how this may look like in a family inherited trauma is an individual could grow up in an abusive home and seeing dysfunctional relationships and fighting, and thus, when they get older, right, in terms of how they handle relationships, depending on, how much they grow, they may find themselves in similar relationships where they're like, well, dang, I wonder why, when it's chaos, I actually feel comfortable. But when things are quote unquote like copacetic and normal, then I feel bothered. It's just like, I mean, just talking about it, some people may go, no, like I get in a relationship to feel good. But oftentimes, we get in relationships and we in generational cycles and these things perpetuate. Oftentimes, people find themselves going, how do I keep selecting the same person? How do I keep selecting the same relationship? Or how do I keep, falling into this constant cycle, right? And then also what that ties into is this trauma triggers and trauma loops. So a trauma loop is similar to a trigger, but it's basically like if an individual or anybody that's listening has ever, got to the point of like, okay, I want to work on healing, and then it's inevitable to your childhood, right? It's always a place to start. And then you find yourself going, wow, I have a lot of dysfunctional relationships. I wonder what that's about. That can also be something similar to like a trauma loop, right? Whenever an individual is saying, I'm selecting the same person or I'm selecting the same situation or things like that. Yes, of course, it's connected to your family, right? Because of how you were brought up. But when you become older, that does not mean that just falls off.
So the question is, if you're a person that's, say you're from a family that's been abusive, do people that are part of an abusive family, when they become adults, do they seek out, I guess, other people, are more attracted to people that likes to have more drama?
Well, good question. I mean, it's customized, right? Because, you got to think about it. It's just like it's an energy. Energies recognize each other's energy oftentimes, and oftentimes, right? But that does not mean that they're automatically going to look for that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely customized. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few people that, they may not call it that, right? They may not say, oh, I'm looking for drama or I'm looking for, but it's interesting.
Right.
I mean, it's not hard to find that, but there's people that are there's just some people you just see that it's almost like they're getting a kick out of it. They're always like, oh man, you hear about so and so, you hear about that, and it's just like, wow, drama really gets you can really get your rocks off when it comes to drama. But when we start talking about something positive, it's kind of like next subject. It's kind of practical after a while, especially with that type of toxic energy, because what happens is people that are not on that frequency, they're not going to be able to fit in that. You may find yourself, especially if a person is an empath, right? You can still be an empath and go through these things and stuff like that. That don't mean that you're like tainted or anything like that. But there's some individuals where, they really value their energetic boundaries. They really value their energy. So for some individuals, the minute they see that on a person or they see like, oh man, this is a lot of drama, they just go, I ain't gonna get along with this person. And you're probably right.
Now, does most people, like if you've been involved in a family that's abusive, is there a percentage of people that will become abusive adults? So it's just there's no number value set there. I mean, how do a person recognize that they've, I guess, are there any warning signs? If, say, like if my dad was an abusive parent and I grew up as an adult and I felt something start to trigger me to become abusive, is there any type of warning signs that a person looks for? Or
yeah, oftentimes there are warning signs, right? But the thing is that's even customized. Like even if I was to throw a number out there, it just really just depends on a person's walk. Because number one, in order to get those type of statistics, people have to self-disclose, right? And then culturally, abuse is practical, but in some cultures, abuse looks different for some cultures. Abuse is abuse, but in some cultures, you know, they even go, well, this is just how it is. And then there's another culture, another person that would go, no, man, that's abusive. You know, that's emotionally abusive, right? So, yeah, I mean, I really think that there's definitely signs, right? But the thing is, you know, you in order to see a sign, you know, there's a lot of work that we got to do. It's almost like, you know, if you're driving to work every day and you're on autopilot, you never notice the Walgreens on the left, or you never notice, oh man, it's 2 stop signs here. Oh man, you know what I mean? Oftentimes, you know, a lot of us are in survival mode.
Yeah.
You know, and not to make excuses about it, but when you say, do you see signs? It's almost like even when there are red flags and there are signs, you know, oftentimes it's going to take self-awareness to even recognize them. It's kind of like, you know, having glasses without the glass part. All you got is frames. It's like, oh, well, those aren't glasses. They're just frames.
Now, are there different types of family inherited trauma? I mean, not just like abuses. I mean, like there's sexual abuse, verbal abuse, I don't know, mental abuse, physical abuse.
Well, those are abuse categories, you know, and that's a part of family trauma. But that can also be outside of family trauma, not just family trauma. And there's spiritual abuse, right? That's a big one. You got to think about how in depth that is. And, you know, belief is a dangerous and liberating thing at the same time. Belief, you know? And then you got to think about it. There's philosophies of life that we live by, subconsciously and consciously, which is another reason why, you know, oftentimes I ask people whenever I do my workshop, oftentimes I just go, you know, what is the philosophy a life that you live by, right? And some people, you know, may say, "Oh man, it is what it is," or, you know, and that's more of a secret language, right? Because these things are passed down. And where do we get these philosophies? Where do we get these ideations, right? To when we go through trauma or when we go through emotional abuse or things like that, what are they actually tied to? It's just like, you know, because this is the thing. You know, your parent is your first teacher, I would hope. And it's not like you sit there and as a child they go, well, what religion you want to be? No, you have to learn to talk. You have to learn to walk. They're feeding you, they're housing you. Whatever religion they select is what's going to be for you. And I know that there's some parents that go, well, we're just going to just keep it agnostic at the beginning and just let them choose, but still they're guiding. So it really, I mean, the philosophy of life, or what philosophies are we subconsciously living by that is influenced? It's influenced by our mothers. It's influenced by our fathers. I'm pretty sure, you know, even with me growing up and just being aware of my examples. And I'm sure you too, Des, as we're sitting here talking about this, I'm pretty sure you can go, oh man, like, yeah, growing up, that person was really influential on me. Or that family member was, you know, I learned a lot, but I wish I didn't learn it, but it's evident I needed to learn it, right? Got to reflect.
Now I'm thinking about you know, just touching base on the spiritual abuse. That's new. I mean, that never crossed my mind.
Really interesting. Huh.
But when you said it, I sort of like, that's true. That could happen. Yes, you know, people try to push their beliefs off on you, and especially as a child.
Yeah. I mean, it's belief, you know, not just in the spiritual sense, but belief all the way around. So I'm curious. So when you did hear that piece, what was the first thing that did come to mind? Because I oftentimes, it's interesting, whenever I do my workshop, I've got that reaction quite a bit. And then I say spiritual abuse. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking it's like, you know, you as a child, you know, parents always say, okay, we're going to go to church. We're going to go to church every Sunday. You got up and go to church, even if you didn't want to go to church. you know,
Right.
they force you to go to church.
Oh yeah.
You think about that, and then when you got old enough to understand the reasons why you were going to church, or did you have any type of belief at all, you start questioning those beliefs. Everything became, well, no, that's not the way it is, until you decide to make your own choices. But it's like I said, it never actually crossed my mind until you brought it up. It's like, that's weird. That's interesting. That actually is interesting. I bet a lot of people think about that and go, yeah, as a child, yeah, I can remember this. I can remember that.
Yeah. And there's fruitful things in that too. There's some people that really cling close to their faith too, which, all due respect, yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's just many, many facets. When we just the title, just the talking about family inherited trauma, just think about the word inherited. It's something that is passed down to you oftentimes unknowingly, right? Or something that is built up or compiled, right? Inherited, passed down, right? But not in the material or physical sense, but in the spiritual or maybe energetic sense, or that type of stuff. And then another example with patterns, generational patterns, would be like alcoholism in families. Right? It's just like, okay, we get it. We can have a good time and we can drink, but we know that, there's some branches of the family tree that's just like, well, struggle with this more oftentimes than not. And I grew up seeing that stuff too and things like that. That does not mean that it's all of a sudden just going to fall on you and you're marked or anything like that, but it's observational learning. It's just like, wow. Because even in that, you learn how interact with relationships too. It's just like, well, family members ain't getting along, and it's the spirit of discourse, or auntie don't like so and so, and it's always this drama, and so just think about a child brain as a sponge, and this is their first example of a relationship interaction, right? It doesn't mean that just because you see that's just totally going to mark you to the point where you're just like, I can't have a fun relationship. But oftentimes, without awareness, you simply don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. I have to excuse it, but it's like, this is a tough topic. And it's a topic that often isn't spoken about as much, right? So,
yeah, I can imagine it's one of those topics that people don't actually dig deep into and think about that much, especially when it's something that could be affected them personally. They don't want to share that type of information. Because like you were talking about alcoholism, see, in my generation, well, I would say no, alcoholism wasn't there, but crack was there. So right. People they weren't drinking, they was down in the corner doing crack.
Right. Yep. Crack epidemic. Yeah. And then, and that's deep, because there's so many facets connected to that as well, because, even with, gang violence and the influence of gang, and things like that. I mean, I'm from Park Hill, and LA got a big influence on even how we talk and even how we say Park Hill, and things like that. And LA is not only just gay, but it's interesting when just making that tie and things like that. I'm not, LA's a cool place. I got a lot of family out there and things like that. But when you had said what you just said just now, automatically in my mind, I thought about the summer of violence, the bloody 90s. Growing up in Park Hill, it was just like, you adapt. You think, I remember as a child, I just used to think, well, the whole world must be like this, because I've never been outside of the state. Everything looks so tall to me, right? But I know that there's got to be more to this. I mean, I know that it was all you was thinking like that when you was a kid. It was like, yeah, actually I was at moments, because depending on how you grow up, I mean, your mental age has to be older than your chronological age. So it's one of those things. And then even with gang banging and things like that, and being born in the sets and stuff like that, and it's just like, this is just how it is. You know what I mean? And it's just like a lot of gang violence and things. So for your era, it was more of the crack epidemic, and then you see it transition into like more of the, gang banging a bit more, but still crack and more liquor stores getting put up and things like that, and even how it looks in Philly, and even how it looks in Baltimore and New Orleans, and in Houston, in those places, and they go into the wars and things like that. It's like, not much has changed, but the day, but the same tactics. That's traumatic. How can you not be affected? Is the question.
Yeah, that is so true. How is it that you cannot be affected?
True.
Now, what is it what suggestions you have for people that may be going through some type of family abuse? I mean, again, I think when you think about it, I've never known anyone that was abused, but you see it everywhere. You talk to people, you see it on television a lot, and it's always the same thing where people say they don't want to bring it up, they don't want to get help.
Yeah, well, the first thing is you got to think about it. I mean, without self-care, how can you really take care of yourself, right? Because without self-care, there's just no. This is the thing. There's some people that take care of people so much that they get ill. I know people like that, family members and things like that, and if it is anybody dealing with that, I would say the first thing is the first thing I would challenge them to say is hey, what is it about your self-care that, has you feeling the way that you do, right? It's just like, it's very practical, when you're happy and when you're sad, you're not sitting there going, am I sad? Am I mad? Okay, well, you could be confused, but eventually it comes out in the wash. It's just like if you're smiling or you're frowning and you're crying and you're laughing. It gets practical after a while. And the thing is if it is anyone dealing with that, without self-awareness and self-care, it's kind of hard to, it's really hard to combat if a person can, because this is the thing, the first thing is admitting. There's some people that will be in denial and say, I don't have a problem. I don't have an issue, and, sometimes it takes an outside source to be like, well, you just slammed a cup against the wall because it was dirty. That's rage. I don't got rage, and it's just like, well, you got denial. You're right. And you got rage. But once you get past the denial, you'll get to that. So that's the first thing I would say is the self-awareness, trying to, because this is the thing. I know this is family inherited trauma, and I know that it would sound like a great challenge to go, well, bring your family up out of this, call a family meeting, and it's not, I'm a realist, okay? Just because you're in a place of healing does not mean somebody is in that same place. And that don't mean that you can't be collective, but without focusing on your self-care first before showing or teaching anyone or changing your energy to be an example, right? Because there's no magic words to say. So I would say to anybody to really take serious their self-care and then go more into self-exploration. And what I mean by self-exploration is reading up on what this is, or reading up on a cycle or something that you notice where you're just like, I notice when this situation's brought up, it triggers me. Or I notice that, none of my family members like each other. You know what I mean? And you can step up and say something, but the thing is, you know, focus on the self-care, focus on that energy, and then you can actually take certain things and just matriarchs of the family, sit down with them, that type of thing. And it just depends on your focus and actually how you want to actually heal. Just like, you know, with my hashtag healing over fixing, the whole basis behind that hashtag is we are conditioned to deal with symptoms, especially here in America. We're conditioned to fix things. We're conditioned to just deal with the symptoms, right? We go, oh, I fixed that. No, this is cool, you know. But healing is different. You know, healing is going to require a subjective pain. You know, we kind of get this illusion like you start healing, you're going to start, you know, floating above the ground or something like that. Like that's not how this stuff works, right? So really, I mean, that's the first thing. I know that's a little bit long-winded, but that's the first thing that I would say to an individual starting off. Because, like, once again, you don't know what you don't know. But when you do know, you know, it's just like something's going on. You know, I see something's going on. I would say start there.
So basically, you're saying that more or less the caregiver needs to basically take care of themselves first.
Yes. And you can continue to take care of everybody else too as well, but you got to take care of yourself too. You got to be able to recharge your battery, recharge your energy, and also change the way you're looking at the artwork. Because everybody, you know, you can have a beautiful piece of art up on the wall, you know, and everybody may see something different. The first thing, you know, everybody may not look at the center of the piece of art. Some people start off looking in the top left corner, top right corner. Some people are more interested in the yellow bright colors and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's just like interpretation is just it's infinite. So I would say, yeah, to the caretakers, you know, make sure that you are taking a look at your self-care as well, because the thing is if you're sick all the time from these, you know, and it's energy transferences too, but if you're sick all the time, right, and a lot of, especially with individuals, I find that a lot of individuals that are caretakers often, not often, but I've met quite a few that are caretakers and they are empaths. And empaths oftentimes consume that energy. They become a container without, you know, and there's a lot of individuals that are aware that they're empaths. They notice about themselves because what do they do? Research and actually self-exploration, right? So that's one thing that I noticed because I've seen it, the caretakers, and they stress out to the point to where they get sick. And then it's like your health is being impacted. Chances, and we know that they're not going to walk away from their family. So not in no sense am I saying, oh no, it's time to focus on you, forget them, let them figure it out. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is you got to make sure that you're taking care of your health as well. People want you here, and people need you here. You gotta self-explore.
Now, what about the people that are not living within the household? Say, for instance, you have a family member that lives outside of the household and a family member that lives by themselves, but there's issues that are going on.
Yeah, you know, the thing about it is, you know, we got phones, we got ways to interconnect, right? And even when it's outside of the home and things like that, you know, like what if that person, what if that family member, or even, and this is the thing, I mean, I got friends that I grew up around that I call them my brothers. I've known them over a whole decade. So even when we say family, you know what I mean? They my family too. So, and so when you say like living outside the house and things like that, you know, oftentimes, I mean, it would beg the question, like, okay, well, you want people to spread their wings, and everybody's living their life. I get it, but you know, sometimes some people could feel like they're on an island. or they feel isolated.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And this is the thing. Some people are still connected to other people. Like, you could be across the state somewhere and still feel interconnected. I always feel interconnected with my kids. I could just peg it oftentimes. And I could hear it in their voice or just energy-wise. And I'm like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? Like, I felt that. So even when we ain't in the home, it's really the interpersonal connections, right? And, and these meaningful relationships that we form. So even with outside the house and things like that, you know what I mean? It's support, and I mean, you can't choose your family, but there's a lot of people that become there's a lot of people that have become my family, but over the years. But those individuals that I dubbed that, they ain't my associates, they ain't my friends. I've known them over 2 decades at least, growing up with them. So I don't go, well, you wasn't from my aunt, or I don't do none of that. I look at them the same. So it's not just they are my family. So there's ways to support people. There's ways to bring people in, or just check up on somebody. Like give a call to somebody if you know that this is a person that's always been known as the rock of the family and things like that. This is kind of like, and they cross your mind, it's like, pick up the phone and say, hey, I didn't want nothing. I just calling to just check up on you and see how your week been. You don't even have to be long and drawn out. You cross my mind. I just want to call and just ask you how you're doing or how your spirit's doing. For some people, that's the world to them. That's the world to them, because they're used to doing it to everybody else. If somebody's calling and they thought about them and they're doing it for them, sometimes that's just all they needed. All they needed was like, man, thank you. Thank you for checking up on me. I appreciate that. Sometimes it's just that.
And that's something that people should actually think about, because a lot of people don't actually reach out to family members. I've got friends that haven't talked to parents in years or siblings in years.
Yeah, we know these things are happening. It's not saying that this is perfection at its best, The closest we probably get to perfection is imperfection. That's what I say. So, and this is the thing. There are some fractured relationships, right? Granted, we're talking about a tough topic, but, there are some fractured relationships, and there are some things that for some people, they're like, hey, man, there's no coming back from this. Because it's levels to it. It's one thing to be uncomfortable, right? It's like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. It's another thing for something to happen and you're hurt. You're like, okay, this hurt me. I'm wounded. And then we also have things that are violations, right? Violations. It's just like, whoa. For some people, that's like, man, that's unforgivable. And I get it. I'm not the one to say, oh, kumbaya all the time. There's things not all the time. You know what I mean? I can fully get how a person can go, hey, man, this is unforgivable right here. And if somebody says, oh, no, everything is forgivable before you hear the story, wow, really? Have you even heard the story? Are you going to tell us, well, you still got to do it. You still got to do it. And I get that. That's great, because you don't want to take the poison waiting for the other person to die. But we also have to have a realistic perspective about this, because we're talking about family inherited trauma. It's inevitable that we're going to. It's also embedded in secret, right? It's just like, I get it. I'm not going to be sitting here indulging and telling everything. I get that, but there's some relationships where maybe if you did hear the story, you would understand it a little bit more on why a person would maybe not talk to their parent. Just because they're their parent, you just go, oh, that's disrespectful. But it's just like, do you know the story? Do you? Right?
That's true.
What's the difference? Yeah, do you know the story? You never know.
Man, that's a tough conversation to have with people when it comes to family inherited trauma, that's got to be very difficult.
Mm. Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, I would say even with doing a workshop and things like that, I think about my family inherited trauma quite a bit and the triggers and things like that. So by no figment of the imagination am I walking into a room going, hey, man, I don't got these issues I'm about to talk to y'all about. Like, no, I got these issues. There's a reason why I was able to design this workshop very, very well. And when I do sit down and start talking about certain things and stuff like that, I love teaching. I taught psychology for 5 years at Community College at Denver. That's where I have my therapy practice here, and I wrote out those workshops and stuff, and I just love teaching. And it's amazing. Sometimes, I see your eyebrow go up, eyes get big, because it's a moment. And it's just like, wow. Even for that one moment out of this whole hour and a half workshop that I've had in the past, right? I can see that. And sometimes I do go, I'll ask somebody, I say, what are you processing right now? I kind of see you. You might be going through something. If you want to share, you can share. If you don't, that's cool. And oftentimes people are open and they may say, hey, what you just said just now, I just noticed the pattern. I just noticed something that I was subconscious, a philosophy that I picked up. And I did not even realize. I did not realize how it put me in a certain state of mind, or it kind of made me a little bit of emotionless, it made me a little bit numb. But it got me through to where I'm at today, right? But oftentimes we don't think about it, especially when you're in survival mode. Kind of like being in the middle of a fight. You got fists flying and stuff like that. You're not sitting there going, what am I eating tonight? That's not realistic. You're in a fight. And that fight could just be every day, going to this workplace, having to, some people dealing with racial battle fatigue and things like that. And they're going, hey, man, this is really, really getting on my helmet. This right here is really, really stressing me out. Every day I got to come in here and feel disrespected, or certain moments and things like that. You know what I mean? In survival mode. So this is not isolated. There's so many other things that's connected to just trauma. Just trauma alone. I mean, trauma is what makes this conversation so deep. It's not family inherited. It wouldn't just be called family inherited. It's family inherited trauma. It's the trauma that makes people go, oh, family inherited makes it sound a little like, oh, what you inheriting? That's kind of soft. But when you hear trauma, you go, oh, okay, well, I mean, there's something psychological going on, if that makes any sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So what key points do you want to give your audience today on family inherited trauma? I want to do something a little bit different today because I know we're wrapping up. I want to read this poem, and I just want to read this poem to just kind of put something on people's mind and things like that, because granted, we're talking about this topic, but, it's not like we're going to, give this magical, oh, you say this combination right here, and then all of a sudden, it's raining candy. That's just not how this works. So I'm going to read this poem called My Name is Secret. And this is out of my Therapeutic Soul Searching Poetry book. And I do this in the workshop as well because I'm doing this topic. I just want to read this. So this is how it goes. It goes, my name is secret. Everyone claims to never know me. I have no preference, whether a lie or true. Death even knows me. I stalk confidentiality and murder innocence. Vanity lusts over my looks as well as style. When I'm spoken about, it's always quiet, filled with empty loyalty.
I was here in the beginning of time and destroyed many minds. I am believed with reasonable doubt. Your ancestors protected me. No one has seen my face nor knows my name. You have a better chance of wrapping your arms around the world twice before you locate me. I am enemy's enemy. The more I am kept, the faster I move. I know your whole family. Many search for me. I question truth's identity. You know me. My name is Secret.
Wow. And you said that's in what workbook you have? That's in one of your books?
That's it. Yeah, that's in my poetry book I self-published, Therapeutic Soul Searching Poetry. When I wrote that was some of the basis where I was like, I want to challenge myself.
Oh,
and,
so where can the audience where can they find your works, your poetry works?
Oh, so my poetry book. It's actually www.blackazar.com. That's my pen name, my poet pen name. And Black Azar is BLACKAUSAR, and then that's .com. And that's my author site. And I'm going to be releasing Crowns and Shattered Dreams this month as well. Which is just a compilation of a bunch of poetry that I've written over the years, and it really is therapeutic for me. Just over the years, just writing. That's the thing that keeps me. I mean, even when I'm in a healer's role and things like that, that's why self-exploration is so important, because I know that about myself. And there's just some days where I'll just get taken away. I might write 3 or 4 poems, and just writing and just listening to music. I love music, sound, composing and writing and that type of stuff. But no, that's where it can be found, blackazar.com.
All right, guys, that's www.blackazar.com.
Yep.
All right, Jason, I want to thank you again for co-hosting today, speaking out on family inherited trauma. That is a deep topic. I think we need to circle back on that one again. That was a lot going on there. You gave me some things to think about today.
Right on. Well, thank you, Dex. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you creating this platform, and as well as, like we mentioned on Tuesday, even another shout out to Brother Jeff and the platforms that he's created and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
As well, for this space right here, it's pivotal. Thank you.
No problem at all. Again, Jason, thanks for giving us a call. Shout out here, and we look forward to joining you again. I think your next event is coming up. Let's see here.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention that. So there's going to be a workshop that's going to be taking place March 14th at the Bear Caldwell, Family Inherited Trauma. I'm doing that with Lakita and Meta Ray. And then also I have a workshop that's going to be here March 27th. I'm actually hosting that Family Inherited Trauma workshop here at my conference room office. And it starts, I believe, it's from 7 to 8:30. Well, yeah, that's taking place March 27th and March 25th. I'm doing a workshop here, the workings of depression, and all this can be found on Eventbrite, which on my main website, innerselfandwisdom.com, and just click the healing workshop, and it'll pop right up for people that may be interested.
All right, so there's going to be a workshop coming up. You said that's in March?
Yep, March 14th.
March 14th. And what was the, you said that's going to be at your location?
Oh, well, no, that's going to be at the Blair Caldwell, March 14th from 10 to 3.
And that's
March 14th.
That's the Blair Caldwell Library?
Yep, Blair Caldwell Library, 5 Points. And then the other 2 workshops are going to be taking place at my conference room in my office on Fillmore Street. And both of those workshops are from 7 to 8:30. Yeah.
Okay, everyone. The Blair Caldwell Denver Public Library is located at 2401 Welton Street in Denver, Colorado. The Inner Self and Wisdom, you can locate that online. That's www.innerselfandwisdom. All right, Jason, I want to again thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to more conversation next month.
Right on. All right.
All right, Jason.
Next month. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
All right. I want to thank everyone for joining us again at HNC Let's Talk. We do appreciate you for joining us. Jason Shankle will be joining us again next month. And I hope everyone have a great rest of the month. This is Dexter Brooks with HNC Let's Talk.